Hi guys. I wanted to take a moment to come on and talk about how difficult the path of the dark night of the soul, the whole spiritual awakening thing before you actually are not identified with the thing who is suffering, with the ego, before you get to that point. Just because I'm having a chat with a client who is navigating this twin flame dynamic as well. And even though I have not by any means figured it out, I have managed now on 2 occasions, meaning the first time, I had a catalyst experience, that triggering my dark night and this great suffering that came from that connection. I'm pulling myself out of that suffering. And again now, with whoever he is, another catalyst, a twin flame, I don't know, and having to pull myself out of that great suffering as well. And kind of doing it by trial and error. I tend to be that person that wants to understand the mechanics of things. I don't tend to just accept things as they are unless I have directly experienced them, in which case there is no need for belief. It is just an experience, and so there is a knowing that's happened through that experience, unless there is a knowing that happens because you're clear cognizant, but you get what I mean. And so I tend to learn the hard way, is what I'm saying. I do take the information around me and practice it, but I tend to need to get to the point of really deep suffering before I'm ready to get up and actually apply the tools, like seriously, in a committed way, and in a way that cannot be denied. And so, unfortunately, through my way of learning, I'm able to guide other people because I understand directly what they're experiencing, because I've been there and I've shoveled myself out of that hole. Although that doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know what I mean. So as I'm in this conversation, sharing about what the role of these people do in our lives, what they're there for, and how we can use that connection and that suffering, or it doesn't even have to be suffering if we are able to consciously navigate it, but most times we're not. And so the suffering brings us to consciously navigating these things. But if you have a coach or a guide who's able to help you speed the process up, who's able to show you the things that you are maybe not able to see immediately, that might take 7 months to discover, for example, it not only greatly reduces the suffering, but it really helps. It really helps to hear from somebody else who's been there, who's navigated it without help through YouTube videos and books and articles online and listening to other people's stories. But it helps to reduce the suffering greatly. And it helps to get to where your soul is trying to bring you to. The suffering is not because your soul wants you to suffer. The suffering is there as a means to bring you to truth. The only reason that it lingers for so long and it is or becomes so severe is because we resist it. It's the resistance that causes the deepening or the severity of the suffering. A question that I was asked is, how do I surrender to this journey without dropping into a deep state of depression. And my response to that was, firstly, don't be afraid of dropping into a state of depression, because that is already a state of resistance, right? Forget about the depression and just focus on becoming more conscious. It's through non-attachment. It's through acceptance of what is as it is. Even if that is depression, even if that is pain, even if that the only way that you come out of whatever state you're in is to fully accept it and to fully come into a state of non-resistance and non-attachment. You have to let go of the need and the desire to control it. For the ego to die, it doesn't have to be this painful death that most of us are familiar with through the dark night of the soul. You know, any time that I've come out of the dark night of the soul, which has been two major experiences, it's been through surrendering to the dark night of the soul. It's been through accepting the dark night of the soul. That is what has brought me out of the suffering. Not that I am completely free of difficulty and struggle. You know, is any time that I see myself in whatever state of suffering, I'm like, you're resisting the truth again. You're resisting the journey. You're resisting the connection. You're resisting the pain. You're resisting the path. You're resisting something. And so I just wanted to take a moment to just come on and drop this here. I didn't have a clear direction of exactly where I was going, but it was just to share that the reason the suffering remains is because of the resistance. I wish you guys a really beautiful day. And even though, you know, I'm still navigating this twin flame dynamic, I know twice now what it is to be snapped into or onto your path, onto the path of dying to the old self, onto the alchemical path, onto the path of spiritual awakening, onto the path of discovery of who you really are, of self-realization, through these connections, through these romantic, divine connections that hurt like a mother. But they're here to serve. They're here to serve you. Yeah, okay, I'm going to leave this here and again wish you a week of non-resistance, of flow. By the way, I am feeling really called to offer my Art of Flow program again, this time online. Most of my groups were in person last year. And the Art of Flow is what brought me out of that first dark night. It was everything that I'd learned, my exact experiences, the things that I was learning about myself, about reality, about all of this stuff. It was everything that I'd learned that brought me out of that experience. It's what I've taught to a number of people now that have brought them to their own experiences of self-realization, of greatly reduced anxiety and depression, of empowerment to a degree, because of course, you know, you come into these programs, you have to continue doing the work, and also how much work you do in the program is going to be reflected in what happens on the other side of the program. I have had programs that have continued from the Art of Flow. We have had people from those Art of Flow programs continue learning with me. And they have come to their own spiritual awakenings, their own self-realizations. However, there's always something to be done. There's always more work. And maybe the past 2 weeks or so, I felt this moving inside, that it's time to offer the next program online. I haven't set a date or any of that yet, but I'll just put it out there and just let you know that something is moving in this regard, feeling like it's time to share that work again. So I wish you a beautiful, beautiful week of non-resistance, of authenticity, of flow, of acceptance, of non-attachment, of self-love, unconditional love, and just awareness. And lots of love to you guys, and I will see you guys soon.